Welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League show. Still loads to come, and we want to remind you have a little bit longer this week to make those changes to your FPL team. That's because there's no early kickoff or Friday night game in the Premier League for game week 11. The first kickoff is at 3 o'clock, so you've got up until 2 p.m. UK time to make all those last-minute changes.
Crikey. Let's have a look at which fixtures there are for you then in game week 11. We're going to pick out 4 as usual that you might find interesting from a fantasy point of view. First of all, a lot of managers are going to be licking their lips at Manchester City's clash with Middlesbrough, especially after what City did midweek to Barcelona. But, it's not that straightforward.
Isn't it?
Borough are coming off back-to-back clean sheets.
Right.
2 weeks ago, they went to the Emirates and shut down Arsenal, kept it goalless. So not saying it's going to be an easy one for Man City.
OK, another game that we're looking at is Chelsea against Everton. It's the battle of the 2 strikers, isn't it? Costa against Lukaku, the top scorer, and just 3 points behind Lukaku as well there. And we've got to mention Balassi, because he has more assists already this season than he got in the whole of last year's campaign. And him and Lukaku are actually the most effective partnership in the Premier League this season.
Indeed, they
Could be
are.
an interesting game, that one.
Certainly
could see an away win.
A lot of Southampton fans will be looking forward to their trip to Hull. We haven't seen a Hull in this bad a shape since the Titanic, probably. Do you know that since August, Sunderland have actually picked up more points than for Sunderland than Hull. So if you've got Charlie Austin, if you've got Buffal, if you've got Tadic, hey, Nathan Redmond too, this could be a good time to maybe even stick a captain armband on them.
And then we're also having a look at Swansea against Manchester United. Of course, new manager Bob Bradley, he's made a few kind of strange changes to the team so far. We're wondering who's going to play for them. Also, Man United off the back of another loss in Europe tonight against Fenerbahce. Not a good result for Jose Mourinho yet again. No goals for Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So the question is Zlatan even going to start at the weekend in the Premier League? I mean, he's played every minute so far under Jose Mourinho, but will he start? We'll have to wait and see.
I don't know. We will have to wait and see. Right now, let's go and see Mr. Mark Sutton's, because we ended the last part on a real cliffhanger with you asserting that it could be time to ditch the man who scored more points for people in Fantasy Premier League this season than anyone. The man who got you and me 26 points when we captained him just last week. I'm referring to that man there, Alexis Sanchez. Why should we ship him out? And does it have anything to do with this fellow here, Olivier Giroud?
It does. I'm not saying ship him out just yet. I'm just saying there are now concerns, and thoughts are turning to the fact that perhaps that 11.4 million can be spent elsewhere. And also, Giroud is a factor because he's got 3 goals, 2 from the bench, and suddenly he's going to be pushing for a starting role. And how long can Wenger keep him out of the side? And
right.
That's my concern.
So him coming back in, at least part-time, as the centre-forward, sees Alexis shoved out wide, and he's going to be less effective out there.
I think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, because Sanchez has played so well in that central role, but it is now a concern for those holding Sanchez.
All right, so if you want to free up 11.4 million, but you still want a piece of that sweet, sweet Arsenal action, who might you go for? Yeah,
I think cover of the Arsenal midfield is still going to be important because they've got goals in them and so many of them. We talked about Walcott last week, and he would be my go-to option because of the price, 7.9.
That's cheap, isn't it?
It is.
Why is it so cheap? Is it because it's Theo Walcott?
Well, he started at 7.5 and we didn't really believe that he could produce with such consistency at the start of the season, but he has. But there is a concern there as well, because obviously if Giroud plays up front, Sanchez out wide, could Walker get shifted as well?
Now, the player on fire of late has been Ozil, but is that price just too high?
It is high, but he's added goals to his game, and we didn't expect this. He's at the moment, he's produced them in the Champions League. We've not seen it in the Premier League so much, but he's got to be an option if you're getting rid of Sanchez, because he could equally get goals for you. All
right, the other options include Ramsey, Cazorla. They've got so much strength in depth. Now, Arsenal, they've got Iwobi as well, Oxlade-Chamberlain in the picture. Granit Xhaka scored a brilliant goal, of course. But, and hear me out here for a second, what if you went for a midfielder who doesn't play for Arsenal? Is that possible?
Yeah, this is the big factor with me questioning Sanchez at the moment and his price. It's the form of this guy. Right. Absolutely electric. He's got 3 goals in 3. He's flourishing in that 3-4-3 formation, and he's on penalties. That's a big factor.
Well, that's a huge factor in his favour. He was player of the season for Chelsea a couple of years ago, the Premier League player of the season. Last year, massive disappointment. What do the numbers say about his performance this year?
Well, yeah, we didn't trust him based on last year and the fact that he basically went into hibernation. He just didn't produce. And he let us down. And a lot of people lost a lot of points and a lot of money on that player. But this season, if you look at it, he's got 5 goals in 10 appearances. That's the same total that he hit last year in 31 appearances.
Right, so his attempts, for example, are only 1 short of last season, and he's played 26 games less.
Yeah, and that's the confidence that he's got in this new formation. And the fact he's playing more centrally, he's getting beyond the striker. That is why he's now a factor.
Right, it's 21 games less, not 26. My apologies. All right, Jules, back to you.
Yeah, time to hear from another Premier League player now, because Sam Vokes had never scored in 26 Premier League appearances before this season, but he's got 3 already this campaign, and he took the time out of his busy schedule to talk to us about his fantasy Premier League team.
Yeah, it's great. It's like I say, we've got a little group and a little chat that we talk about the games, and the lads discuss it. And on a Friday night in the hotel, lads are changing their teams ready for the weekend. So yeah, it's good, and I'm sure everyone does the same. Matty Loughton is the captain, I suppose. He looks after everything and delegates who's winnings for the weekend. The Mini Burnley League, I was doing very well. I think after 3 weeks I was clear top of the table, and I forgot to change my team, and now I'm struggling down at the bottom somewhere. So I think I've got a few changes left, but no, I'm hoping to get back up there.
Well, of course, 6 million gets Sam Vokes into your side, and he's got 2 goals in the last 3 games, so you never know. Right, time to get to your questions from Twitter. And if you wanted to get your question answered next week on the show, it's at official FPL. So the very first question comes from Adidas Boy, who says, should I lose points, Mark, to buy Gundogan considering his recent form?
Well, we need to consider Gundogan, definitely, because, you know, he's so cheap, but I don't think I'd spend points just yet.
After the Champions League game the other night, a couple of people that I know were straight on there, putting him in their side.
I don't blame them, because the price rise and you're making money out of getting him in at this point, but I just don't know how he's going to sit in the system. You know, both his finishes in midweek were close range finishes. I want more evidence yet before I spend points on a player like that.
OK, next question. Anurad Sudarasan says, could I have an alternative to everyone who's aboard the Gundogan bandwagon?
Yeah, I mean, his ownership is shooting up. He's still around 8%, but that's going to soar up over the international break, I'm sure. So in that bracket, it's kind of tough. I mean, there are players. I mean, Redmond at Southampton is a player that we've endorsed on this show a few times.
Yep.
I think he's got a good run of fixtures coming up. Victor Moses is one I'm looking at as well. Yeah,
cheeky.
5.5 million, similar price.
OK.
He's another one thriving in Conte's system, playing the right wing-back role. So maybe he could be worth a look.
One to watch as well. AMR's asking, Coutinho or Firmino? This is a dilemma that a lot of us face when choosing our Liverpool midfielders.
Yeah, I mean, ideally both, I think.
Really?
You know, they've been in such form, and they offer all-round game, you know, assists and goals. We saw it at Palace. Coutinho probably has the edge at the moment. Firmino's in my team, but I am covered in for Coutinho because he just seems to be having an outstanding season. So I would veer on Coutinho.
I'm a Coutinho girl. And Yuvraj is asking, Payet out. West Ham have been struggling lately, Mark.
Yeah, and the fixtures are pretty evil. If you look at the fixtures they've got coming up, Payet could be limited in terms of returns. Although, you know, he can win games on his own, but I would say, yeah, it is time to look at getting Payet out.
Oh, bye-bye Payet. OK, Michael's asking, I have 1.6 million in the bank to trade out Hazard for Sanchez. You kind of covered this a moment ago. Is that worth it, or should I invest elsewhere? Good question.
Moving from Hazard for Sanchez? Yeah, I mean, I think it's the other way around. You've got to get Hazard in, because I think in the long term, he could match Sanchez's output. And that money you can save, you're going to want to spend that elsewhere. I think in a few game weeks, defenders are going to be back in fashion.
Good stuff. OK, remember, if you want to get your tweet answered next week, at official FPL on Twitter. Mark, come with me, because, James, we've reached 100 Premier League games.
Here we have. It's quite a milestone. Well done to us and of course, to the Premier League, because they played a part as well. You know, when we reached the 50-game mark, you remember that historic occasion? You picked out 1 or 2 trends, and at the time you were saying it was all about forwards. Don't spend money on defenders, you were saying. Now, what are the numbers since tell you about that? Has the pendulum begun to swing the other way?
It's quite interesting. The last 50 games, you look at that, the clean sheets have gone from 21 to 31 in the last 50 games. So I think this is a trend we're going to see up to Christmas as well. Defence is suddenly getting used to systems and tactics, and there could be more clean sheets. And that's why I'm saying maybe we need to move money into defence, and players like Sanchez suddenly become dispensable.
Just 1 hat-trick so far this season, which is crazy, because this time last season there were 7 players who already scored hat-tricks, Mark.
Yeah, and we've missed that. The ability to put the armband on the striker for him to return a big haul. We haven't had that. Lukaku's the only striker to do that so far.
And also we've got they've got the red cards as well. There's 13 less red cards this stage.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
you don't lose any points.
Penalties, though, because we talk a lot about who's on spot kicks. That is still still a huge factor, way more, although not as many as in the first 50, but still way more than this time last season.
That's right, and that's why players like Hazard are going to be so important.
Okay. Let's have a look at your team.
Yes, Mark. Let's see what you're going to do coming into game week 11.
Now, stop me for a second if I'm wrong, but that's the same team you had last week, so are you just leaving it?
Yeah, I've got 2 transfers to make, but I'm biding my time. I'm waiting for the European games to be over. Aguero's my captain there, you notice?
Yep.
Faith in
Sticking
them
with
now.
that?
I think so. I think after the performance at West Brom, I've got to go with him.
If you weren't going for him, who would you go for?
I would probably go back to Sanchez because he served me so well. I still think he's got mileage, but, you know...
Okay, well, let's see some other alternative... What? Charlie Austin on the list?
Yeah, well, because he's playing Hull, you remember?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And then you've got Eden Hazard on there as well, Costa. There's some good choices in that. And Callum Wilson.
Yeah, I think so. I think Aguero's going to be by far the most popular choice this week. De Bruyne perhaps is an option in that City team against Borough as well. But Wilson and Austin, yeah, they're the outside picks.
You know what they are? They'd be captain differentials, wouldn't they?
Definitely.
Makes them very exciting.
Well, I thought I had that last week with Troy Deeney, and it didn't work. Didn't work having a captain
win some,
differential.
You lose some. And in this case, we actually drew one. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up for this show.
Thanks,
you know
Mark.
what? We've got another milestone heading our way in Premier League land because we're just 25 goals short of 25,000 Premier League goals in the entire history of the competition. And this is the 25th year of the Premier League. I wonder if it could come this weekend.
It could. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll see you hopefully next weekend or next Thursday. See you soon.
Good luck.